We're going to talk about 3 reasons you might not have thought of before you're opening your own private tattoo studio. Let's get into it.
The white flag, they surrender. All black tux, I'm a businessman. Me and I still taking care.
So I get a lot of questions about this kind of topic. Like, how did I open my own? What was the process? What steps did I take? Was it easy? Do you regret it? All those kind of things. That's kind of what I'm going to talk about in this video. So the first reason you might want to chill on the whole idea of it, or you might want to just think of it before you go down this whole route, is hidden expenses. So what I mean by that is things that you may not have put into account of that is going to run you up some money that you might not have thought of. First thing being insurance. So let's say you do find a place, you're happy with it, you're happy with the price point, you're like, bro, this will work, everything's cool. And then you realize, oh, I forgot about insurance. I forgot about cameras. I forgot about all these different things that I might have to add into this as an expense. Now, again, you might be like, whoa, I don't need cameras. I don't need this. I don't need a security system. I'm good. I'm chilling. I just need a space. Okay, but you still need insurance. No one is going to rent to you that is legitimate without somewhat of business insurance and all that kind of stuff. And this kind of goes into the whole mindset of running this as a business and not just as a tattoo artist. And I feel like there's a lot of people that struggle with this part. They might have the tattooing side down, or maybe you're like all locked into that side, but you're not even realizing like you need an LLC, you need to do your taxes, you need to build business credit to be able to even get into some spaces. So these things, a lot of them intertwine and go hand in hand. But like I said, hidden expenses, insurance, that's a big one. I see this a lot too, like, or I don't see this, I'm not in this business, but I've seen this kind of even happen to myself with like a car or certain things, right? Like you think about, okay, this car is this expensive, but then you don't realize like having that type of car, now your insurance doubles or triples. And now that's from insurance, your insurance is at $150. Now it goes to $400 a month or something. You know what I mean? That's things that you don't think about, the gas, the whatever it is, right? So how that relates to tattooing and opening your own studio is that exact same like example and premise. Like it's the same type of thing. Like, don't think that if you do even get into a building, which we're going to talk about in the next point, but if you even do get into one, that's something that you have to think about, because that insurance can really be hard to find. One, that even people will cover tattooing. And then 2, it can be expensive depending on where you're at, like city, location, type of building you're in. There's just a whole bunch of things that come with that. And this doesn't matter where you're at. I'm trying to tell you, like, assuming that you're in like a legit place that they have their licensing that is renting to you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not just in some hole in the wall where they're like, yeah, forget it. I don't care about all that. Like just throw me cash every month. Like not that. I'm talking about real places. They want business credit. They want to see history. They want to see, a bunch of things, but the number one thing you better have is insurance and like licensing and certifications or whatever your state or that city requires. Another thing is not every city and not every state is going to be the same. You know what I mean? So it really doesn't matter. Like when people ask me this and they're in another state or even countries, like I have no idea what you would need or what the recommendation would be. You have to go by what that city or state, those regulations are to be able to get into a place, All right, the next point is finding a space. So like actually finding a space is way harder than what you think. Again, I'm not saying all this stuff to like discourage you. I'm actually doing this to encourage you. So I'm just letting you know things that you may not think about. So before you kind of like spaz out at the shop you're at and be like, bro, forget it, I'm going to do my own thing. And now you have nowhere to tattoo at and you're trying to find a place. Now you're running into all these issues. I'm trying to save you that headache before it starts. You know what I'm saying? So finding a space is a lot harder than what you may think. Even if you have all the checklists down, you have money, you have licensing, you have insurance, you have all these different things. That does not guarantee that you are going to just get into a place. Like, I'm trying to tell you, I went through this 3 times. This was my 3rd time going through this in 3 years. You know what I mean? This last time that I was looking for like a bigger studio, I probably talked to anywhere from, I don't know, like 12 to 15 like potential places. And out of those, they either hung up on me as soon as I said tattoo. They were not flat out interested once I said that at all. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't even interested to hear me out. Some were even a little bit okay with hearing me out. They're like, tattoo, like, not really. But they at least heard me out. Like, bro, it's not the normal type of tattoo shop. Like, all these different things. I take 1 client a day. I have a clientele list. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I have all this stuff. I'm not hanging around there. I'm not having a whole bunch of people hanging around there. Like, none of that stuff. And I showed them social medias. I showed them, you know, business credit and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And they still were like, bro, nah, we're good, bro. It's not as easy as what you might think. Even if you find a space, you have the money for it, you have everything in order. I'm telling you, bro, that stuff, a lot of people don't like that. And then even further, like, this is what happened at 2 spaces I was looking at. Not 1, but 2. I saw this plaza, 2 plazas that I liked. And I liked the space, the building, the everything like that. And there was like a tattoo shop that was maybe like, I don't know, in that plaza, but it wasn't even like near where that store was. It was like on the other side of the plaza. And they told me, we can't do it because the tattoo shop that's in here signed a non-compete clause. If you don't know what a non-compete clause is, it's pretty much like when they signed, they were like, hey, we're signing here for whatever period of time. And in that time that we're here, you can't sign any other tattoo shops, tattoo artists, anything like that. So those 2 plazas would have taken me. They were like, yeah, that's cool. We like what you have to offer. We like everything that you have, but we have that non-compete clause. So if they end up leaving, then maybe, but for the foreseeable future, they don't have any plans of leaving. And I was like, dang, this is crazy. Like, even if I'm not competing with them, like, I'm not taking walk-ins, I'm not taking any of their clientele. Like, I got my own thing going on over here. And they're like, yeah, we just can't. And these are established artists. Like, this is not just like a walk-in shop that's like, well, we don't want somebody who might be better than us down here. No, it was like, these dudes were good. They were established. Like, I didn't understand the problem, you know? So you'll run into stuff like that. A whole bunch of issues I ran into personally with that stuff. But like I said, you might have an easier route. You might have a harder route. But it's just things to keep in mind, that it's not as sweet as what you might think. You need to make those calls ahead of time, well into the future, before you even decide that route, and just see what your options are. You're going to see pretty quickly your options might be more limited than what you think, you know? The third thing is building business credit. So I touched on this earlier, but this goes along with everything. Having an LLC, doing your taxes, you know, putting things on paper, writing your deductions, using a business credit card to buy your supplies and all that other kind of stuff. All that, bro, you need to get this taken care of. It blows my mind that I still will get messages from tattoo artists about this topic and be like, hey, bro, you have an LLC? And I'm like, you've been tattooing for 9 years and you don't have one? Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Again, it's not talking shit, bro. It's just the reality of the situation. You need to think about, you are running a business. You need to treat it as such. You know what I mean? So get all that stuff in order, bro. These places that you want to rent from, or, you know, build this business, they don't care about what money you have. They don't care that you make this much amount a month or a week or a day. They don't care about none of that. They want to see it. They want to see it on paper. They want to see this coming in, this going out. They want to see all these things, and this will only help you for the future. Do not be one of these old tattoo artists who do all this weird stuff and act like pirates still. Like, bro, Don't do that. If you want to get better, if you want to get good, if you want to progress, you need to have all this stuff. And this is just a bare minimum just to be able to get into your own space. You know what I mean? Again, some people, you might find that they might just rent to you and they don't care about that kind of stuff, but that's more of a rare situation, you know? So you definitely need to take the time to understand the finances, the business side of things, before you embark on this type of journey, because you're not going to be able to get into any of these spaces without this stuff. Like, this is bare bones what you need. So stop putting it off. Stop being like, oh, I'm going to do it later when I get it, you know, this done. And when I'm at this certain point in my career, then I'll do it. Like, no, do it now. Do whatever you need to do to get it done. Look it up. The information is out there. Do it. I'm not a financial person. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm not none of that stuff. So look it up for yourself. Find the right people to help navigate you through that path. And yeah, get that stuff set up, bro. So now that I talked about kind of like the things that you might want to look out for, I'm just going to ramble for a little bit and kind of just spitball ideas and kind of tell you my story on how I did things. And maybe it helps you out. Maybe it, you know, whatever, sparks some ideas with you. But I started at a salon boutique style place. So these spaces are a little bit more friendly to tattoo artists, you know, barbers, estheticians and stuff like that, where maybe like more commercial side is more strict on those things. These kind of places are meant for that. They're like made for people who are like that in those types of fields, like artist fields, right? So if I was you, I would suggest probably starting at a place like that before you just go full all in. Even if you can get an actual like storefront type of place, I would just start small. I would go into it if you can with another person, cut the rent a little bit. That's exactly what I did. When I first got into one, I split it with someone. Looking back on it, it was crazy that we did, because I'm not exaggerating. It was probably, I mean, like those rooms inside those salon boutiques, some of them are a little bit bigger, but most of them are like a quarter size of a bedroom, like maybe half. Like this room right here is bigger than one of those rooms, you know, and they still charge a lot for those rooms, you know. So it's not just because you have a smaller space. Don't think it's like, oh, well, it's probably like a couple $100 a month. No, no, it's not. Full transparency, I was probably paying like $500-600, and I was splitting it with another person. So I had like this much room to myself, and I was paying like $600 a month, just to put that kind of thing in context, you know. Again, I was paying $500-600 and we were splitting it. So we were collectively paying like $1,200, you know. So if you're doing it by yourself, you're going to be paying closer to that $1,200 mark. Again, this depends what city you're in, what state you're in, all that kind of stuff, you know. Yeah. That's what it was. And it wasn't a crazy, crazy nice area like downtown or something. No, it was not. But yeah, I did that first. And then after about a year, he decided he wanted to go to like a shop, and I didn't want to go to that shop. I just didn't want to go to a shop in general, you know. I was going to stay there and just take it over and then have that whole space to myself. But I was like, I just feel like there's something else out there that I can at least look around for. So I spent, again, future planning. I did not just like, oh, well, we're leaving here now. Now I'm going to start looking. No, this was as soon as I knew that he was probably going to like bounce out of there, I spent the next probably like 3-4 months just like looking around, planning, seeing different opportunities, you know what I mean? Kind of weighing my options, whether I was staying there, whether I was leaving, what that was going to look like. I even thought about going to a shop just temporarily, you know what I mean? So I could like take a little bit longer to think about things. But another key point that I will suggest you to do is network with people. So go out, talk to people, message people. Anyone that you know has a place, like has a building or has other businesses, whatever it is, be like, hey, like, do you know of anywhere that would rent? Do you know, would you rent? Would you do this? Whatever it is. And try and find different angles to kind of like rub elbows with people and see if there's any possibilities out there, because that's going to be your best bet rather than just calling like a random, you know, leasing place or a leasing office and be like, do you rent to tattoo artists? Because you're going to get click, hung up every time. I promise you, you know? So yeah, I ended up meeting another dude who, he had like a building and he was like, bro, you should come here. I'll rent to you this, that, and the third, work something out, made that happen, right? Again, not the most ideal situation, but it was something for me to kind of just like get into a little bit bigger space, a little bit more of my own, and then just bought me that much more time to kind of like plot for the next move, you know? That's all it is, bro. You're trying to like buy time with some of this stuff because you still need a tattoo. That's your moneymaker. You still need to get that in, and it just gives you time to at least have somewhat of a settled place and then start like figuring out what your next move is, you know? A lot of people ask me, like, they're like, bro, you made a lot of moves in like 3 years. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, how'd you move so fast? And I was like, bro, I was thinking about this third place in my first place. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I do all the time. Like, if you knew what I'm thinking about right now, you'd be like, why, how are you even thinking that far out? You know, but that's how I do it. That's how I think forward. You know what I mean? I plan for the moment. I'm in the moment, but I think forward and I plan for the future, you know? So that's what you got to do in this kind of a field and business and industry. You know what I mean? You got to really progress, adapt, and be mindful of those things. But yeah, and then now I'm in the place that I'm at right now. Again, it's just more about building yourself up and building things that you can, like, that you have control of, having the certifications and all the things that you need in place to like legitimize you. Because the other thing that I think a lot of people don't know about this stuff is that, and this is kind of, it's kind of in line with like certain states with like licensing, where they'll be like, oh, you know, you can't get your license until you have 200 hours of skin time by, like, you know, watched over by some master tattooer or whatever it is. Like, certain states have these like crazy regulations, right? And you're like, well, how do I get that experience if I have to have a license to be in a shop? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, how do I get this? You're telling me I have to have this, but I can't get that without having this. How do I get, you know what I mean? It's like, what is going on? You know, it's the same thing with this business stuff. A lot of these businesses will be like, no, you need to be in business for 3 years. Like, you need 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is of history in a building, right? Like a business, like having a business already. And you're like, well, I just started. How am I supposed to get that? And they're like, we don't know what to tell you. You got to wait, I guess. So a lot of this is just that, like stacking up things, stacking up your resume, building your business credit, and all those things. And that's why I keep trying to tell you guys, like, stop waiting until you're ready to do that. Because by the time you're ready to do that, you needed those 2, 3, 4, 5 years past, you know? So yeah, it's all about planning. It's all about, you know, if you have a move you're trying to make, you better be like 6 months prior to that, a year prior, already thinking and planning and putting those things in motion, you know, before it happens. But yeah, I would start at a place that you know is going to welcome tattoo artists and not at least shoo them away, you know, that are more open to that idea. You might pay a little bit more. It might not be the most ideal place for you, but it's going to be able to kind of help legitimize you and get some time under your belt, start realizing what other added expenses you didn't really realize are. Like, some of those places, the cool thing about them is like they might include electricity or AC and water. And so all you have to worry about is the rent and the insurance. But again, it's one more thing for you to kind of think about, that like, okay, well, this month the rent was 1,000, but my insurance was 300, and I had to buy this many supplies because now I'm tattooing this many more people. All in, I'm actually at this amount. So maybe I can't afford this building that is X amount. You know what I mean? Because then you're going to have to add on all those expenses that are included over here. Another thing is, I know this is probably common sense, but if you're coming from a tattoo shop that might, like, that building alone is going to get traction or walk-ins or calls, and you've gotten people from that, you are now not getting that anymore being on your own, you know? So again, I know everybody's situation is a little bit different. Maybe you're like, oh, I already have a clientele list built up. I don't care about that. No, I get my own people. Those people that came into that tattoo shop, they came for me, not the shop. But like, you don't always know how they found you either. You know what I mean? I know it's easy. Like maybe you're at a shop right now or at another place that you're just like mad and you're very frustrated and you don't want to give that shop much credit because they've taken a lot from you or whatever the situation is. Don't sleep on the fact that them having a brick and mortar, them being on Google Maps, them being on all those different things, and them maybe even running ads and all this stuff that you may not know about might get you more traction than what you even know. And I think that's important to keep in mind because I've seen this happen a few times to people where they leave a shop and they're like, man, forget that shop, bro. I'm doing my own thing. I got my own people. And then they leave and come to find out that shop was running ads and doing all these things on the back end that they didn't even know about or see. So they had this like different perception where they think, oh, it's busy all the time. No matter what, as long as I know how to tattoo, I'm always going to get people. And then they go out on their own and they don't know how to run ads. They don't know how to post good content, engaging content. They don't know how to market themselves. And now they're just like out here on an island by themselves and paying probably like more for their own place, you know? Again, this one was more like a negative type video, like a lot of cons, a lot of things that you need to look out for. It might discourage you. I'm not trying to discourage you with all this stuff. I'm just trying to keep it real with you and let you know things that you may not know of and a lot of people may not talk about either. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know. Are you in a shop you don't really like? Are you in a situation where you're kind of in between? Are you looking to open a studio but you didn't know how? Have you tried and people have turned you down? You know, let me know. Let me know what's going on.